My family wanted money from a project they refused to help with. Money changes people fast, especially when large amounts suddenly appear. One man says his family completely turned against him after he sold a renovation project for a huge profit, even though they refused to help with the project from the very beginning. And the worst part, the people demanding money were the same people who laughed at the idea when he first bought the property. According to the man telling the story, he was semi-retired and looking for a project to keep himself busy. He'd always enjoyed fixing things. Construction, painting, woodwork. So when he found an abandoned one-room schoolhouse for sale about an hour outside town, he became obsessed with the idea. The place was old and falling apart. Broken windows, rotting floors, leaking roof. Most people saw a disaster. He saw potential. His idea was to restore the building slowly and eventually sell it for profit. But more than money, he thought it could become something meaningful for the family, a long-term project they could all work on together. At a family dinner, he explained the idea to everyone. His wife immediately thought the whole thing sounded ridiculous. She asked why anybody would waste money on an abandoned schoolhouse. His younger kids weren't interested either. Most of them claimed they were too busy. One openly joked the building probably had raccoons living inside. Still, he offered everybody the same deal. Anybody willing to help renovate the property would receive a share of the profits once it's sold. Nobody cared, except his oldest son from his first marriage. According to him, his son loved the idea immediately, not just because of potential money, but because he genuinely enjoyed building things too. His son even offered to split the down payment equally. So, together, they invested heavily into the property. About $80,000 each, between purchase costs and renovations. According to him, his son loved the idea immediately, not just because of potential money, but because he genuinely enjoyed building things too. His son even offered to split the down payment equally. So together, they invested heavily into the property. About $80,000 each, between purchase costs and renovations. And unlike the rest of the family, they actually committed. Weekends became renovation days. According to him, they spent countless hours rebuilding the place, almost from scratch, ripping out flooring, repairing walls, installing plumbing, painting everything themselves. His son's wife helped constantly too, and even the grandkids participated. Mostly smaller jobs, like cleaning debris, yard work, and painting fences. The project slowly became something special. Family photos, cookouts outside the building, long weekends working together. According to him, those memories became more valuable than the money itself. Meanwhile, the rest of the family barely checked in. Sometimes his wife would ask how much money they were wasting. His younger children still mocked the project occasionally. One even called it Dad's midlife crisis cabin. But according to him, none of that really bothered him at the time, because the project was actually going surprisingly well. The schoolhouse slowly transformed into something beautiful. Original hardwood restored. Modern kitchen installed, landscaping cleaned up completely. At one point, neighbors from nearby farms even started stopping by to compliment the work, according to him. That's when he started realizing the property might actually become extremely valuable. Nearly 2 years after purchasing it, they finally listed the renovated building for sale. And the response shocked everybody. Multiple buyers became interested immediately. Within weeks, the property sold for roughly $400,000. After expenses, he and his son each cleared around $100,000 profit. His son's wife received $20,000, and each grandchild who helped received $10,000. According to him, he wanted everybody who contributed to feel rewarded, especially the grandkids, who worked harder than most adults expected. At first, everything seemed fine. Then, the rest of the family found out how much money everyone received. And suddenly, the mood completely changed. According to him, his younger children became furious almost immediately. One accused him of playing favorites Another complained they should have received family shares. His wife became upset too. She argued that, because they were married, she deserved half of HI's portion of the profit. That argument frustrated him immediately, because the investment money never came from shared finances. He used personal savings he had before marriage, and more importantly, she openly opposed the project from the beginning. Then things became even more ridiculous. Several relatives started acting offended. The grandkids received money, not the grandkids who helped. The other grandkids? According to him, certain family members demanded he give their children equal gifts, even though those kids never visited the property once. One relative argued children shouldn't have to earn family money. That sentence genuinely irritated him, because nobody viewed the payments as charity while the work was happening. The grandkids worked hard. They hauled garbage, painted fences, pulled weeds in summer heat. Meanwhile, the relatives now complaining couldn't even be bothered showing up for a single afternoon. The tension finally exploded during a large family dinner. According to him, the atmosphere already felt tense before anybody sat down. Then one of his younger children casually brought up the property money, and within minutes, the entire table started arguing. His wife openly demanded he split his profits with the rest of the family. His younger kids agreed immediately. One even argued they were excluded from a family opportunity. That comment stunned him, because nobody was excluded. They simply refused to participate. According to him, he finally lost patience completely. He reminded everybody exactly what happened when he first bought the property. The jokes, the criticism, the total lack of support. Then he pointed out something else. The people demanding profits now were nowhere to be found, while he and his son spent weekends covered in dust repairing broken floors. Nobody volunteered then. Nobody invested money then. But suddenly, once profits appeared, everybody wanted ownership. According to him, the room became dead silent afterward, but his wife still insisted he was being selfish. That part hurt him more than anything else. Because in his mind, she wasn't upset about being excluded from work. She was upset she missed out on easy money. And once he started thinking about it that way, he couldn't stop noticing the entitlement. Especially because nobody acknowledged how much risk he and his son originally took. The project easily could have failed. The property could have lost value. The renovations could have gone over budget. Nobody wanted responsibility when things were uncertain. But everyone suddenly wanted rewards once success became guaranteed. To this day, certain family members still act bitter about the situation. Some accuse him of dividing the family. Others say money changed him. But according to him, the experience actually revealed something much bigger. It showed him exactly who supported him when success wasn't guaranteed. Because when the project was just hard work and risk, almost nobody cared. But the second it became profitable, everybody suddenly wanted to call it a family project.
My wife's family treated me like their personal ATM. Helping family during a tragedy is normal. Most people would do it without hesitation. But one man says after his father-in-law died, his wife's entire family slowly turned him into their unpaid chauffeur, financial planner, problem solver, and emotional support system, while treating him like he deserved absolutely nothing in return. And the more he helped them, the more they expected. According to the man telling the story, his father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. The death hit the family extremely hard, especially his mother-in-law and younger brother-in-law. His brother-in-law was 27 at the time, but according to him, the guy had basically never functioned independently. He still lived at home, didn't drive legally, spent almost all his free time gaming, and relied heavily on his parents for basic life responsibilities. Meanwhile, his father-in-law handled almost everything in the household. Bills, transportation, appointments, finances. When he died, the family completely fell apart logistically, according to him. Nobody even knew where certain paperwork was stored. At one point, they couldn't even figure out where the father-in-law worked officially. That's when he stepped in to help, not because anybody forced him, because he genuinely cared about the family. According to him, he spent weeks handling almost everything. funeral arrangements, insurance paperwork, estate issues, phone calls, financial transfers. And since his mother-in-law didn't speak English fluently or drive, he and his wife basically became full-time support. His wife drove her mother everywhere daily. Meanwhile, he handled complicated paperwork and financial planning. According to him, the stress became overwhelming quickly, but he kept helping because he believed families should support each other during crises. Then things escalated further. His mother-in-law and brother-in-law moved into his house temporarily. At first, he welcomed them openly. He assumed everybody simply needed time to recover emotionally. And financially, it actually seemed logical. They could contribute to bills while rebuilding stability, but according to him, the living arrangement slowly started feeling one-sided. His brother-in-law barely helped around the house, mostly stayed in his room gaming, rarely contributed to discussions about the future. Meanwhile, his mother-in-law depended heavily on him and his wife for nearly everything. Still, he continued helping because at that point, he believed the family was simply grieving. Then eventually, the life insurance payout arrived. And according to him, that's when everything changed. The father-in-law left a large amount of money to his wife and son. His own wife received nothing directly at first. He actually understood the reasoning. His brother-in-law clearly couldn't support himself properly, and his wife was more financially stable because of their marriage. Still, he assumed the money would eventually help the entire family together, especially because he and his wife had been carrying so much responsibility. So he suggested something practical, a shared account between his wife and mother-in-law. A safe way to manage bills, retirement planning, and long-term support. According to him, that's when the conversation suddenly became uncomfortable. His mother-in-law immediately rejected the idea. She explained she wanted her entire portion eventually transferred to the brother-in-law instead, not partially, almost all of it. According to him, he was genuinely stunned, because his wife had sacrificed enormous amounts helping the family. During her mother's cancer treatments years earlier, she used vacation days driving her to appointments constantly. After the father-in-law died, she practically became caretaker for everybody. Meanwhile, the brother-in-law contributed almost nothing, and yet somehow he was still receiving everything, according to him. Another detail bothered him deeply too. The brother-in-law secretly had a huge amount of money sitting in his checking account already, but when asked about retirement planning, he admitted he had no idea what to do with any of it. No investments, no future goals, no long-term planning whatsoever. Just work, video games, and dependency. That realization terrified him, because now the family planned to hand a massive payout to somebody who barely functioned independently. Meanwhile, his wife received emotional expectations instead of financial support, and somehow he and his wife were still expected to house everybody too, according to him. That's when resentment finally started building. Not because he wanted the money personally, because the situation suddenly felt incredibly disrespectful, like his wife was being treated as backup support instead of actual family. And even worse, he started realizing they were being treated as permanent safety nets. The reliable married couple expected to absorb everybody else's problems forever. Then, one evening, he finally confronted the issue directly with his wife. He explained that after everything they'd done, being left completely out of the financial planning felt insulting, especially because the brother-in-law clearly wasn't capable of managing things responsibly. He also admitted something uncomfortable. He no longer wanted everybody living in the house long-term. According to him, the stress had become emotionally exhausting. Bills increased, privacy disappeared, and he felt like nobody appreciated the amount of work he'd done. His wife reacted badly immediately. She accused him of caring only about money. That accusation genuinely angered him, because if money was all he cared about, he never would have spent weeks solving their problems for free. According to him, that argument became one of the worst fights of their marriage. His wife believed family obligations should come before everything. He believed support should still involve fairness and respect. Then he finally said something that shocked her completely. He told her maybe her mother and brother should move back into their own house instead, use the payout money to support themselves there, and stop expecting him and his wife to carry the entire burden. According to him, the room went completely silent after that, because for the first time, he openly refused the role everyone silently assigned him. The dependable provider who fixes everything while asking for nothing, and once he stepped outside that role, people suddenly became angry. To this day, the tension still hasn't fully disappeared. His wife remains hurt by the argument. His relationship with the in-laws became awkward permanently, but according to him, the entire situation taught him something important. Sometimes people don't intentionally use you at first. They simply get comfortable relying on you. And if you never establish limits, the expectations keep growing forever. Because in the end, he realized something painful. His wife's family didn't view him as temporary help anymore. They viewed him as the long-term solution to all their problems.
This story is rough because nobody starts out trying to become the family ATM. It usually happens slowly, one responsibility at a time. And before long, people start treating your help like an obligation instead of generosity. The craziest part is that the wife and her family seemed shocked the moment he finally pushed back. But what do you think? Was he justified asking them to move out, or should family always come first? No matter what. Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoy dramatic Reddit stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more.